Well, can you feel the love this morning? It is Valentine's Day, of course, but many people might still be searching for that special someone. So how do you set yourself up for a healthy relationship?
Well, we're going to dive into that conversation with Kim Pleasant. She's a professional counselor who handles couples therapy. So, Kim, one of the things you talk about is how a lot of us will skip the most important step when it comes to getting into a relationship. So what should we be doing?
I think a really great question to ask ourselves before we begin a relationship, or even if we're in a relationship, is how do I stay fully connected to me while also being deeply connected to another person? And I think healthy connection always begins with self-awareness. So knowing what do I bring to a relationship? What wounds might I bring to a relationship? What patterns, what needs, maybe what unmet needs do I bring? And that way we can really show up for ourselves and be able to do our own self-care without maybe putting that responsibility onto somebody else to rescue us. Or
On that note, because about rescuing, I think sometimes we fall into the fantasy. We have this idea of a person, or we fall for potential. And then when we realize, well, we're all deeply flawed and we all have our own wounds and our own baggage, that you have to kind of break free from the fantasy. Is that part of it as well, that gets you rooted in that self-work?
Definitely. I think it's so important to remember that we all have our own individual story that has happened prior to the story of our relationship. And so knowing that backstory, knowing about, again, what things am I bringing into a relationship, knowing how my past is going to impact my present is really important. We all download messages about ourselves based on our life events, and we tend to have recurring feelings that show up throughout our life. And so based on those messages and those feelings, we oftentimes, well, not oftentimes, we definitely create coping skills. And those coping skills, well, at the time that we created them, they probably worked really well for us, but when we come into an adult relationship, they often don't land as smoothly there.
And it is interesting even bringing up that point, because I know one of the biggest questions that both men and women tend to have is how can we kind of help cultivate these healthier relationships, especially in a day and age where it's harder to find connections with people and it feels like we're even more spread out than we were before.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. So when people arrive in my office, one of the things I always want them to know is we always kind of go back and take a look. What messages have you downloaded about yourself? What is it that you believe about yourself? And how does that show up? So what are the things that are going to trigger me in this relationship? And how do I learn how to show up for myself and meet those needs?
And triggers are okay.
Definitely, yes.
Somebody is going to trigger you.
Yes.
I think there's this idea that you do all this self-work and then you're ready for a relationship. No, that person is going, that's the point. That's how you help each other grow. There we go.
You're exactly right, Priya.
Thank you. I've therapized myself. Yes. Are you always this like calm? Is this like your approach?
I hope so.
I'm just leaning in, like, tell me more.
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much.
See, we've learned a few things.
We did pick up a few things. Kim, thank you so much for joining us.
Can we share our dating journey with you then as we go on?
Absolutely, absolutely. I would love to hear it.